Hi everyone, these are notes on quadratic formula in Unit 4. So your quadratic formula is a formula that's going to help you find the solutions to a quadratic equation when we can't factor it. Actually, it's going to work if you can factor it too. So it's kind of a nice formula to use because if you're not very strong on factoring, this formula will always help you find the solutions. We mostly use it though when we can't factor and if there's going to be a complex answer. So what's our quadratic formula? It is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, where do all these letters come from? Well, the a, b, and c come from your standard form. So if you have an equation of a quadratic and it's written as ax squared plus bx plus c, the a comes from the number that is in front of the x squared. The b, which is used here and here, is going to come from the number in front of the x. And the c, which is used right here, is the last number. It's the constant. So when you use quadratic formula, you want to make sure you're in standard form. You also want to make sure that your equation is set equal to 0. You want to make sure that it's set equal to 0 first before you start using your quadratic formula. So there's a part of the quadratic formula which is called the discriminant. The discriminant is the part that's underneath the radical. It's this b squared minus 4ac. And this discriminant, when you calculate it, can tell you a lot about what kind of solutions you're going to have. If this comes out to be exactly 0, then you're going to have one real solution. If b squared minus 4ac comes out to be something bigger than 0, a positive number, then you're going to have two real solutions. And then if b squared minus 4ac comes out to be something less than 0, like a negative number, that means you're going to have two imaginary solutions. And imaginary solutions are also known as complex solutions. So these are the kind that we just studied in Unit 3, and they're the ones that have the little I in the answer. Okay? Now here's the good news. You don't have to have this memorized. This is given to you on the SOL formula sheet. Okay? So you don't have to have that memorized. You just have to be able to use it. Alright? So let's practice this. Let's go down to the first practice. And also, just like in all the other videos, if you feel like I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause the video and then catch up on all the stuff that you need to write down so that you're ready for the practice examples. Okay, so first example, you want to make sure that your quadratic is set equal to 0. Already done. That's good news. Now let's figure out what is a, what is b, and what is c. Well, a is going to be the number in front of x squared, which is a 1. b is going to be the number in front of the x, so that's going to be negative 8. And c is the constant, so that's going to be 15. So we're going to use those numbers to plug into our formula. Here's our formula again. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And these are going to be good ones for us to also use our calculator. So if you have a negative b, that's going to be a negative 8, which is actually going to turn that 8 positive. Plus or minus big square root, and it's going to be negative 8 squared. I put my negative 8 in parentheses so that to remind myself if I use my calculator, I'm going to need to put parentheses around this negative 8. Please make sure you're doing that. Minus 4 times 1 times 15. All over 2 times 1. So, x equals, keep simplifying. 8 plus or minus square root. Now, we can use our calculator to help us simplify this. So it looks like we're going to do negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 15. Okay, I'll make my, there we go, a little bit darker. And then hit enter. And it looks like our answer is 4. Okay, so there's a 4 under the square root. And then all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, this plus or minus right here, this means that you're going to have 2 answers. Okay, so one answer is going to use the plus sign, the other answer is going to use the minus sign. So this will be 8 plus the square root of 4 all over 2, and we're going to simplify that. The other answer will be 8 minus the square root of 4 all over 2. Okay, so 2 answers. So we know that the square root of 4 from Unit 3 is 2. So this is 8 plus 2, which is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So one answer to this is 5. If I go down here, 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So your 2 answers, your 2 solutions, your 2 roots, your 2 zeros, the 2 places where this parabola would cross the x-axis would be at x equals 5 and x equals 3. That's how you use quadratic formula. So I'm going to kind of mark this off. Let's do the second example. Okay, first thing you want to do is get this set equal to 0. So we've got to move this 7x over. Now don't forget also that we need to write this in descending order. So this 7x actually needs to be in the middle here. So we're going to subtract 7x from both sides. So this will be 2x squared minus 7x plus 3 equals 0. So from there we can say A is 2, B is negative 7, and it looks like C is going to be 3. We're going to plug into our formula. So I'm going to use the formula that I have right here. So it will be x equals negative 7 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times 3 all over 2 times 2. Okay, so now we're going to simplify. This is going to be positive, so x equals positive 7 plus or minus. Alright, so let's use this to help us out a little bit. Parentheses, negative 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times 3. 25. Alright, that's helpful. So this will be the square root of 25 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. Alright, now we're going to have 2 answers from this. 7 plus the square root of 25 over 4. And the other answer will be 7 minus the square root of 25 over 4. Okay, so we know that the square root of 25 is 5. So this will be 7 plus 5 over 4, which is 12 over 4, which simplifies to 3. Over here, this will be a 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 over 4, which is 1/2. So your 2 solutions to example number 2 are going to be at 3 and also at 1/2. Alright, so far so good. Let's do the next few examples. So now we need to get the x squared, and we need to get it set equal to 0. So actually we don't want to move the x squared. We probably should move the 4x over and the 1 over. It wouldn't matter either way. I like to keep my x squared positive, so I'm going to move these over. So we're going to subtract 4x, we're going to add 1. So this will be x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals 0. So A is the number in front of x squared, which is 1. B is the number in front of x, which is -4, and then c is 1. Okay, so formula x equals, we'll use this formula up here, negative b, so it'll be -4 plus or minus the square root of, okay, so let's see here. Oh, I'm not going to use calculator yet. Let's write it down. So -4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 all over 2 times 1. Okay, now I can use my calculator. So this will be -4 squared minus 4, which is 12. Okay, so positive x equals +4 plus or minus the square root of 12 all over 2. So from there, two answers. One answer is 4 plus the square root of 12 all over 2. The other answer will be 4 minus the square root of 12 all over 2. Simplify. Now, when we simplify the square root of 12, this is from Unit 3, so that's going to be 2 square root of 3. So your answer will be 4 plus 2 square root of 3 all over 2. This is also 2 square root of 3, so 4 minus 2 square root of 3 all over 2. Okay? Okay, now some of you might be thinking, 4 divided by 2, I could simplify that. And you're absolutely right. You want to simplify as much as you possibly can, just in case on the multiple choice on a test or the SOL, excuse me, they have those simplified answers as their multiple choice answers. So yes, you are allowed to divide. You have to do it with both of these numbers though. The 2 goes into the 4 and it goes into this 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, plus 2 divided by 2 is 1 root 3. And then here, 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1 root 3. So 2 plus root 3 and 2 minus root 3 is the completely simplified answer. Okay? Okay, we're doing good. I'm going to put a piece of paper over top of this example right here, and I'm going to do that example on paper. If you have room, you can squeeze it in because it won't take a terribly long time, but I do want to make sure I show you all the steps for the notes. So for this one, it's set equal to 0, A is 2, B, well, it doesn't look like I have a B because I don't have anything with an X on it. So B is going to be 0, and then C is going to be -6. Okay? All right, so we're going to use the formula from up above. X equals, so that's -0 plus or minus the square root of 0 squared minus 4 times 2 times -6 all over 2 times 2. Okay, well, -0 is still going to be 0, so that's basically going to go away. So you're going to be left with plus or minus, and then 0 squared, still 0. So -4 times 2, let's do this mentally. -4 times 2 is -8. -8 times -6 is positive 48. And this is all over 4. Okay, and we're still going to have two answers from this. We're going to have positive square root of 4, square root of
48 over 4. Now, simplifying this radical, this is from Unit 3, so we can definitely simplify this. It ends up being 4 root 3 all over 4, and this one is -4 root 3 all over 4. And then you can definitely cancel those 4's. You're allowed to do that. So this goes away, and one of your answers is just going to be root 3. Your other answer will be -root 3. So the solutions to that last example that we just did there, the 2x squared minus 6,
is going to be positive root 3 and negative root 3. Okay, so like I said, if at any time you need to pause the video, please go ahead and do that. Alright, let's do the last video on the front of this page. So this is set equal to 0. A is 1, B is 4, and C is 4. So using our formula, x equals negative b, so negative 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared, 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4. Okay, all over 2 times 1. Okay, let's keep simplifying. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus, let's see, this is 16 minus 4 times 1 times 4. Well, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So this is 16 minus 16. So all over 2. 16 minus 16 is actually 0. And we know that the square root of 0 is 0. So this whole thing is going to go away. And since the radical is gone, we don't need the plus or minus either. That's going to go away too. So you're just going to have one answer for this, negative 4 divided by 2. And negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So you have one answer. This is one of those that only has one solution. And the picture for this is going to be a parabola that just comes down and touches the x-axis in one spot at negative 2 and bounces back up again right here. Okay, this is called a double root. Comes down, bounces off the x-axis, and goes back up. Okay, so I hope that helped. We're going to do the examples on the back in another video. Ask me questions if you need some assistance. Thanks.